Hello and welcome to the Long Island weather outlook for this week. As we head into October, just one more day I think left of September, and that's going to be it. But you can see the remnants of Helene just kind of sitting on this satellite image. You can see it's just sitting over the what do we call this area? I guess the Mississippi River Valley over here, or eastern Mississippi River Valley, just east of it. And you can see here, it's just sitting here. We don't have anything to move it along. However, that will change. But in the meantime, just showing you what we got. Why can't we get my paint tool? You know, I hate what they did here. So here's your low. And this is your low from Helene. And all around it, you got this high that's just kind of blocking everything from moving. So there's no jet stream to move things along, and things are just kind of cut off, so to speak. So, and it's been a disaster. Even worse, I knew it was going to be bad, but even worse than I could even imagine. We still have lots and lots of people without power. Look at this map here. It kind of shows you all the power outages all the way going up through the southeast here. This is a disaster. There has been towns wiped off the map. Minimal news coverage about it. Southwest Virginia, Damascus has been solved. So it's all the towns in the Appalachian Mountains are dealing with these floods right now. All the towns. Obviously, yeah, we've got it's caused so much. They've got cavalries of we've got houses on fire, and this is all over. Historic village in western North Carolina, downtown Chimney Rock. This is Asheville. It's heartbreaking seeing all the destruction, and the death toll keeps growing as well. It is tremendous damage from Helene, and it's still ongoing. We still have destruction.
In the 2000s, they were back-to-back hurricanes that hit. They come up to the Gulf Stream.
Look at this here. This kind of shows you the destruction here. A bridge wiped
Early 2000s.
And we still don't have that many images of the transmission line damage, but you can imagine that there's been, and not only that, but substations flooded too. So I do have some images of the transmission damage that we can show you here. This is the power outage map, first of all. So you can see Florida. They've made remarkable progress in Florida, down to 140,000. But Georgia, they've gotten down to 586,000. South Carolina, 783,000. North Carolina, 461,000. Virginia, 106,000. So those are the hardest hit states. But the areas that have been hit hard are still mostly out, like Taylor County, Madison County. It's been a major disaster in that area. Georgia, still, there hasn't been the areas that have been hardest hit. Very little recovery from the power outages because they literally have to rebuild everything, and transmission lines have been knocked down too. And we're not really hearing a lot about that. I was doing some looking, and I really couldn't find that much information. Part of it because cell towers are down. There's just not a lot of information getting out in these areas. So Georgia, we still have lots of outages. And then going up into South Carolina, still the hardest hit areas, Lawrence County, Spartan, they're still out. They're still out. North Carolina, and that's also due to flooding, substations. They can't even literally get the electric crews down to some of these places because all the roads are washed out. Even Virginia, southwestern Virginia, still have a lot of hard-hit areas here. A lot of hard-hit areas. So let's share some other images about... This is what I was able to find. This is a wooden transmission line that has fallen here. One of those H-frames, which, again, these things are not equipped to handle these kind of storms at all, and they should all have been replaced. In Florida, they don't use wood at all. They use, for the transmission, they use mostly metal poles. Here's another image here. Not sure if these are wood and metal. It's kind of hard to tell. These might just be painted brown. But you can see here's a tree that fell on a transmission line here. So these trees literally have fallen over onto the transmission lines. There's a lot of woods in these areas, and the trees are very high. And here's a map of the rainfall that has fallen from Helene. And you can see in this dark area here, right in the mountains here. So you go to the western parts of North Carolina, eastern Tennessee, in the Appalachian Mountains, the Blue Ridge Mountains, the Smoky Mountains. This area here has been hit very, very hard with a lot of rain. And here's some of the rainfall numbers here. Highest amount, 30 inches in Buzzard in North Carolina. Mount Mitchell, 24.20. Boone, 20.12. Boone is another town. A lot of these towns have been nearly wiped off the map. Table Rock, 14.34. 9.92 in Benton, Tennessee. So you see the higher amounts, and these are really impressive amounts. Georgia, as much as 14.22 in Tula. In Sumatra and Florida, 15.91. So as it got north, all that moisture had nowhere to go but up and to condense and be enhanced by the mountains, which made the rain even worse. And that's exactly what has happened. And it is a major, major disaster there. It is one of the worst hurricane disasters to ever hit this country. Really one of the worst disasters that we've ever seen. Because of the way this thing tracked and the way it just raced in because of that upper level low, pulling it in, which is nearly unheard of to have that happen. Normally, the storm would probably move southwest to northeast, and it wouldn't slam into the mountains like it did. So, just terrible, terrible disaster over there. Again, if we just Google Helene transmission outages and try to get images, there aren't really a whole lot of images available of the transmission line damage. But I'm sure it is significant, and they're just not showing us. I really wish they would show us, but this is what we have going on here. So Helene power transmission outages. Really can't find any. I could go to images, and you don't really have a whole lot of images here available as to what has happened. I don't know why they're not sharing them. You'd think by now we would see some information shared with us about the damage, the catastrophic damage to transmission. Has details damage, but there is no photos being shared with us. So I don't know why they keep covering this up, but I'll try to get to we just can't find out any information right now. So I don't know why they're covering it up. But there does seem to be a cover-up on this. So they're detailing the damage, obviously, but there's no photos of it being shared with us at all. But here it says, Santee Cooper, 48 transmission power lines locked out. So that's a lot. It's nearly all. Complete blackout. And these utilities have never seen anything like this whatsoever. It's just incredible to see. It really is. Again, not a whole lot of images being shared of the damage. That's all I was able to find for you. But anyway, let's talk about what's going on in the tropics, because we still have other storms that we are watching. We have 12. We have another area in the Gulf. Another area off the East Coast. We got Joyce, Tropical Storm Joyce, and Isaac. And we're going to start with Isaac, which is weakened to a tropical storm, but it's still strong. And look at how far north Isaac is getting. Isaac could wind up threatening Iceland. Iceland. A tropical storm in Iceland. They have it getting quite far north. That's pretty crazy. They have it as a post-tropical storm, but still very unusual to see this. Then we have Joyce. Again, this is going to stay out in the middle of the ocean, not bother anybody. You have 12, which they actually do have becoming a major hurricane. And then we have this area here where they have a 0 right now, but this is going to have to be watched because that could be our next storm. That could threaten the Gulf, and we're going to look at the models, and you'll see what I mean. So let's go first look at the weather and hazards map. You'll still see all the flash flood warnings in effect for this area, and there's still some rain falling, in fact. So let's look at that. And you'll see here that, yeah, look at this. There's still more rain. This is the last thing they need in these areas is more rain, but with that storm just stalled out the way it is. If we look at our weather map, you'll see there's your stalled out low. Here's a cold front that's going to be sinking in. And this is going to help push the storm a little off to the south, so we're not going to probably see too much rain from it. But if we look at the QPF forecast for the next 7 days, you'll first see that there isn't much for us. In fact, nothing. Let's see, day 1 through 7, barely anything. But there's still some rain that could fall over, looks like, Virginia. So that's the last thing they need is more rain. Outside of that, we've got red flag warnings in effect for the upper plains because of the dry conditions. Winter storm freeze warnings freeze warnings for the northern Rockies, and for the Southwest, an excessive heat warning. So, and then for the West, we still have, it looks like, what do we have here? Excessive heat watches and heat advisories. So there's still heat going on in the West. And if we look at the actual observations across the country, you'll see the kind of conditions that we're dealing with here. Let's put this on here. If we can get this to work. Doesn't seem to want to show up. There we go. So these are the temperatures here, the high temperatures. And, yeah, 100 degrees in the northern. That's crazy. I mean, we're in September, and there's, I think there's a there should be a excessive heat warning in there, too. 100 degrees, that's really hot. So we got temperatures in the 100 to mid-90s going into North Dakota. That's, and parts of Montana. That's crazy. So there's a lot of heat out there. And then we have heat also in the west. And then heat also in the south. In a lot of these areas that got hit with all that rain, it's warm and it's humid. And there's no power. So you think of all these areas like 75 and 66 at Southwest Georgia Regional Airport. All right. Let's see if we can get an observation out of Valdosta. These are areas that still don't have power. Lowndes Airport, 77, 89 of the dew points are in the 70s. So stifling conditions, really stifling conditions in this area. And it's very bad without air conditioning. And hopefully there's help being provided to the people there, because right now it's not a livable situation and they have to evacuate and take shelter in a hotel somewhere. And I really hope that FEMA and the local state governments are helping them. But these are states not known to be good at helping people. The only state that does a decent job when it comes to hurricanes here, Florida, obviously. But all the other states, it's just tragic what's going on. Florida was hit hard, too. There was a lot of flooding and devastation along the water, too. But they got off fairly easy compared to these areas in the mountains. So, anyway, going into our area now. Kind of a dreary weekend. Yesterday was very sucky. Drizzle and light rain all day. It was miserable. Today, at least most of Long Island was able to get a break from the drizzle, except for the New York City and western parts of Nassau. They were still dealing with the drizzle for a good part of the day. It didn't really end until this evening. Temperatures generally in the 60s. Just a really dreary weekend. The dew points have dropped, though, to 55, so that's good. So we're starting to see some drier air move in, which is helping to dry up all the rain. All we had was very light rain. So if you look at Islip, you'll see 51, 57. We'll look at the rainfall here, precipitation over the past 48 hours, and you'll see it really wasn't a whole lot. 0.14 at Islip, looks like 0.31. So some areas got a quarter of an inch. It helped for sure. You'll see higher amounts actually over the city, and actually New Jersey. got in on some decent rainfalls of over an inch. So that's good for them. At least they've gotten a little help with their drought. For us, very little. You can look at the 24-hour rainfall, and you can see, again, today, not much fell over Long Island. But, again, over the city, that light rain just persisted, and they actually managed to get 0.79 at Central Park today. So for the city, at least, in New Jersey, it looks like they got a little help with the rain, with the drought. But for everybody else, still kind of dry, but we'll take what we can get at this point because it's going to be dry again. I think we're going to be entering another dry pattern here. Looking at the radar, and again, you can see all the precipitation has dried up over our area. But if I go to the radar and rewind the radar here, which we're going to do, we'll do the rewind. You'll see what was sitting over the city all day. So you see that light rain and drizzle just sitting over the city in southwestern Nassau, just sitting there most of the day. It didn't really dissipate until later this evening, just because, again, there's no jet stream. There's nothing to steer anything around. We'll look at our statistics for today. And high is 65, low is 61. Month to date, we've only gotten 0.24 inches of rain, so I think we're going to break the record for the least amount of rain. Last year, September wound up being very wet, 6.55, but this year, very dry. Despite all the gloomy, cloudy days, the stretch of cloudy days, which is now over a week, not much rain to show for it at Islip at all. And that's going to be a record minimum for Islip, 0.24. Unless we can get another about 0.35 inch, I don't think it's going to happen. So I think that's definitely a record low for Islip. JFK, you can see, wound up getting a lot more. They got actually 0.41 today. And month to date, they're at 0.88. Still below normal, but not quite as bad. And we'll look at Central Park as well, which did even better with rainfall. And they've managed to get 1.53 inches of rain for the month. Still well below normal, but better than what we're going to be getting, which is a record dry September probably at Islip. So there's our setup, but things are going to be changing. All right, let's go and look at the models now. And we'll first start with the upper air and show you why things are changing. So here's the GFS. And you see the setup we have right now. Not much of a jet stream, right? This is what we've been dealing with, that cutoff low. Well, the jet stream finally starts to dive down this week and starts to move things along again. And you'll see that things will start moving along as we head into October with some troughs coming through. There's a couple of looks like potential tropical systems floating around over there. But this is the jet stream on the GFS. So we're seeing things getting a little more functional compared to what they've been. Let's go and look at the European, the jet stream on that. You see that they're in agreement on certain things here with that. Let's go to the upper air. So this is the Euro. There's the cutoff that represents Helene. Kind of just dissipates. And you see ridging in the east. And a little bit of a trough there come through. Here's a tropical system over here that's developing. You can clearly see. And then there's a stronger trough as we get into middle October here. Now the GFS... Pretty similar looking. However, there were some changes here at the GFS that I want to kind of point out to you. This trough that's coming in later this week was originally supposed to be stronger. So if I go back to, let's go back to Friday's GFS. You can see the trough definitely looks a little stronger and a little deeper. And now we go. This is the 12Z. And this is the 12Z from today. You see there's a difference. There's not quite as much troughing in the east on these two. So let's look at the Europe. Yeah, we already looked at the European. So let's go to the surface and take a look at the GFS has in store for us. And we're going to start use the 12Z here. So here's that low. That low is going to kind of scoot by the south, so we're not going to really see too many more chances for rain this week. In fact, even Wednesday, which was a day where we could have potentially seen some rain. We're not going to see any. You see that high, a little bit weaker, not as strong, so it won't be as cool of a push of air. You'll see it's also developing something in the Gulf and hitting. This is going to threaten. This is the last thing that this Big Bend area needs to get another hurricane. They've been getting hit. The Helene was the worst hurricane to ever hit there, but they've dealt with 3 hurricanes in the past year. This one looks like we don't know where it's going to go. It's just too early. But you'll see high pressure builds in for the weekend here. Gives us nicer weather as we get towards Saturday and Sunday. And then we'll have to see whatever remnants of this tropical system comes would bring us our next potential chance of rain next week. But you'll see here that, and then after that, you see another really big high pressure building in as you get toward the middle. That's a stronger trough that it develops. But notice the 18Z looks completely different here in the long range. So there's differences here. And there's still differences even with run to run. See the GFS. Now look at what it has the tropical system in a totally different spot. There's the high building in, and then it has it in a totally different spot. So you can see run to run, there's a lot of volatility with the GFS. Euro's been a little more stable in this regard, so let's look at the European here. Again, Euro keeps most of that rain off to the south. And then here's Wednesday. Maybe it's a slight chance of rain, but not really showing that much. It's kind of a weakish high, kind of builds in. The Euro's not quite as strong with the high pressure on the weekend. And then it brings another cold front through Monday, and then another stronger high past behind that. So there's still some differences and disagreements. As far as the tropical system, the good news is I don't think the Euro is showing it at all. So maybe it won't happen. But we'll have to see. That's anybody's guess, and we could see this change once again. So let's take a closer look at our weather on the shorter range. And I'm not done yet with this part. We got to look at the temperature anomaly chart. So show you that there is cooler air moving in, but temperatures still kind of stay above normal according to the Euro most of this week. Next week, maybe it near normal. Maybe there's a cool down next week. You see much of the country still above normal. GFS, first show the 18Z and then the 12Z. When there are differences, I'll show both of them. But you'll see generally above normal. A little more of a cool down. GFS a little more aggressive with that cool down on the weekend, especially next week. But still, overall, not showing a lot of cool air. And the heat in the Midwest is quite upper Midwest into northern plain states is very disturbing. Here's the 12Z. So we do see a little bit of a cool down by the weekend, but no really cool weather. And it's not until we get to the middle, and of course this is toward the end. This could always change. We all know the GFS loves to do that. In fact, they already kind of did it here. Look at that. So you could see what I mean. The GFS is just in the long range. It's just kind of a mess right now. But right now, it doesn't look like we're going to see any big cool downs. Unfortunately, it stays above normal. So now we'll take a close look at the Northeast and the HRRR. And looking at the 0Z HRRR, you'll see that precipitation stays off to the south. We got another high that kind of wedges into the Northeast again. So going to stay in that easterly flow on this HRRR. You can see that. Dew points and wind flow, obviously east winds. Dew points do drop a little more, so it's drier. That's where we're not going to see any precipitation. We'll still see clouds, and then still even drier air, I think, for Tuesday. You see that, again, that northeasterly wind there. But obviously, we're going to have plenty of clouds around. If I just take a look at this sample, you'll see pretty saturated column. It's actually showing less low-level clouds. It's going to be a lot of mid to high. So maybe you'll get some filtered sunshine tomorrow. Maybe we'll actually see a little bit of sunshine. Not holding out too much hope, but we'll see what happens. The temperatures, obviously, with that easterly flow aren't going to be all that warm. Again, 50s. Maybe we'll drop into the 50s tonight. Maybe upper 50s to low 60s tomorrow. A little bit warmer if we can get the sun to peek out. Maybe high temperatures around 70. Tomorrow night, temperatures drop a little more into the 50s. And then for Tuesday, a little bit cooler as temperatures only in the upper 60s, reaching the upper 60s again. So we'll go on now to the GFS. And we'll check out the dew points and wind flow. And you see, again, staying in that dry air, that high kind of builds back. It's just weird how that all happens. And we don't really get some semblance of a normal west-to-east flow until we get toward Thursday. But you can see that front kind of just comes in and kind of just washes out. Originally, we were supposed to push on through. This is the 18Z. We'll look at the 12Z run. But I'm sure it's going to show the same thing. Yeah, the front really doesn't have a whole lot of push to it. It'll come through, but as far as it really giving us a nice clean sweep through, it may get hung up a little bit. It's not until the weekend that we have that other push of drier air, and then you see the dew points really drop Saturday and Sunday that we would see that. And I think I'll just stick with the 12Z because the 18Z has been kind of messed up. As far as temperatures go, it won't be all that cool. In fact, it's going to be warm. As you get toward the end of the week, you'll see the temperatures warm up into the 70s. And then drop a little bit on Saturday and Sunday to the 60s. But again, nothing really. And then it gets warm again. Nothing really that 70s. I mean, no really big cool down. No big cool downs at all. It's not until, again, that last period that you start seeing that cool down. This is the 12Z, but the 18Z takes it away. Remember, so this far out, we're going to look at the European. The temperatures, which I know tends to be a little on the cool side. But you'll see, not really. The Euro doesn't have it that cool on Saturday. It has it pretty warm, actually. So, no really big cool downs. Skies, obviously, we've been sucked in with the clouds. In the Euro, we don't have a sky output, but we can go to the GFS for that. And again, I'm going to stick with the 12Z run, I think, here at this point. Obviously, giving us more clouds than sun. Tomorrow, Tuesday, Wednesday. Thursday is when we could finally start seeing more sun. Maybe not completely clear. Maybe by Friday, it might be completely clear, but you can see it's showing more cirrus trying to come up into our area. We'd have to wait until maybe Saturday or Sunday to really get into some nice clear skies, hopefully, by then. And here is the 18Z run of the GFS. A little different looking. Let's go to the RGEM for skies. Next sky model. So this is the RGEM model, and you can see it's showing more of the high, thin cloud variety. So we might see some filtered sunshine tomorrow, perhaps, with a lot of high, mid-level clouds. Same deal for Tuesday, maybe some breaks. Wednesday, a lot more in the way of clouds, showing plenty of clouds, and then that's as far as we'll get on the RGEM. So NAM, we can go to the NAM and try to see if we can peak at Wednesday here, because that would be our next. Not really showing much of anything, so I think it's going to stay. I don't think we're going to see much more rain, so it's going to be dry again. So I guess we will now go look at the climate outlooks. 6 to 10 day. Well, it has us near normal, well above normal in the west. Look at that huge below normal precipitation area. It's got us slightly above normal. It's a slight chance of above normal. Better chance in the southeast and the north, extreme northeast there. So it thinks that we might see some rainfall, at least in the long range there. And then 8 to 14 day, kind of a similar trend here. A little below normal. It has a lot of heat out west, a tremendous heat out west. So even though it's going to be near normal here, the west is going to broil. And that's not good at all. And that's no surprise when we went to look at, again, we look at these models, and we go back and we look at things here. And I'll go back to the GFS. We look at our temperatures here. You'll see the heat that you're going to have here in the west. And it's just going to, at least it looks like things will cool down a little bit in the northern tier with that cold front. But you can see the heat just building in the west here. This much of the country is above normal. Luckily, we got a couple of fronts that help us out in the east, but you can see, and then that heat builds again in the north. So you can see what's going on. In the European, would be the same deal again. A lot of heat in the west. So, yeah, it's definitely a little disturbing, that's for sure. But we do see at least some chances for some cooler than normal temperatures, but not much. And the heat in the southwest is absolutely ridiculous. You can see here. So just absolutely nuts what's going on. It's nuts. So we'll go back to the satellite image, and it looks like that. Is that a fire in North Dakota? Let's just see, because I wouldn't be surprised with all that heat that we're going to see wildfires, and I really hope that when we finally get our sunshine, better not be ruined by wildfire smoke. But we'll take a look. This is the Canada, northern U.S. one. This is not really going to show us anything, but it doesn't look like anything's going in Canada, luckily. But it looks like I see something. That may just be, it looks like something over in North Dakota. Let's see if we can find it. We need northern plains. We have upper Mississippi Valley. I don't know if that's going to be it. Yeah, that'll work fine. So let's see what we got, if we have any. Yeah, it looks like there is. That looks like a little bit of smoke there. Yeah. Coming from some wildfire or something over there. Just a little bit, not a lot. I don't even know where that came from. That looks like smoke to me. Let's go look at the southern plains. Maybe it's coming from the southern plains. I don't know where that's coming from. I'd like to know, but I don't know where it's coming from. They'd just be coming from Idaho. Can't even get this to load again. No surprise. That's not Southern Rockies. Let's try this. I know they had a fire in Arizona, I think. But I'm not seeing... Oh, well, California. Yeah. Yep, it looks like California. That's where I see it right there. So we'll go back to California. Yeah, that one just exploded again. They just can't get these damn fires out, can they? You'd think they'd have enough, like, firefighting planes or something to dump water on these things, but, you know, it's so dry. So, yeah, you can see this one. Yeah, it kind of blew up over the southern. Yeah, right over here. Yep, you can see that one. So that one blew up. So we'll have to watch again with all that heat around. More wildfires. It may not be done yet, even as we go into October, which is very unusual to see wildfires in October. But the way this year has been, it's been pretty insane. So I think that's going to wrap everything up. No weather update tomorrow night. You know, I don't do them every day anymore, but we will. I'll be back on Tuesday. I think I'll try to come back on Tuesday and talk about the month in review for September. I'm sure we're going to have above normal temperatures and very below normal precipitation. And, of course, sorry to get more information on the disaster that Helene is. It's, again, it's Twitter, Helene. You could just Google Helene here and see if we can... Chimney Rock, decimated. Just look at this. I mean, look at this beautiful town. And now look what's happened to it. Gone. Completely. It's such a beautiful part of the country. Look at this. This is all destroyed. Look at this. This was what was, and that look at what happened. We have towns and neighborhoods that are just wiped off the map. Many people lost their homes. They've lost everything. Rural towns have been wiped out. Why is this not on the news? You know, yeah, being forgotten. Well, I'm not gonna forget about it. Actually, is Fox Weather has done a very good job of covering this. So, very, 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 very major disaster here. It's just horrible and heartbreaking and just mind-blowing what we're seeing. And just goes to show how small we are in comparison to the forces of Mother Nature. Here's a debris flow. Oh my gosh. Just slammed in there. Look at that. That person didn't even know it was coming. Of course, there's some political stuff in here. I really wish people would not do the political stuff, but where is Kamala? Well, we're going to find out. I'm going to do a little bit of research and see if she's been bringing this up at all. So this is really, really terrible. This is a horrible night. This is in Florida, too. Look at this. I mean, this is just devastation. So that's going to be it for this update. And again, praying for everybody affected by Helene. This is a major disaster that... I didn't realize there was sound going there, but major disaster. Horrible. So can I tell you, our country's in a world of hurt right now, and we got to come together and help these people. They need our help. Doesn't matter what part of the country you're coming from. These people are going to need places to live. They're going to need help rebuilding, and we got to come together and get that done. So anyway, those have been my thoughts, and again, my thoughts and prayers. Everybody affected by Helene. Obviously, all you have to do is look at this power outage map and realize that we've got a long way to go. This disaster has been worse than even I imagined. I knew it was going to be bad, but this is even worse than even I knew, so that I thought it was going to be. But anyway, thank you for watching, and again, I'll try to come back Tuesday night. We'll talk about September as far as our weather goes in review, and what the rest of the week's going to look like. Have a good night.